I just want to show you can see like you look how different you look the day you recorded this. Like everyone records an "If I Get Kidnapped" video, and then there's a video of you in Jordan, I believe, right in a
Yeah,
cell in Jordan. So
yeah.
let's okay. So let's see your "If I Get Kidnapped" video.
Tommy Marcus, and if you're watching this video, I have been abducted by the Zionist regime of Israel on an aid trip to bring medicine and food to the population of 2 million Palestinians that the Israeli government is currently starving and bombing to death. I came on a boat with no weapons and will be spending time, assumedly, in prison now. I don't want the focus to be on me because the reality is, as a white American person with Jewish blood, I will likely be fine. I hope that people use this opportunity to think about what Israel is doing to the innocent population of Palestinians on a daily basis, whether it be bombing children, shooting people with snipers who are trying to get food, or just starving everyone to death. Free Palestine.
Okay, and then this is after you were intercepted and kidnapped.
Wednesday night, the Global Samud Flotilla, a humanitarian mission carrying aid to the starving people of Gaza, was violently and illegally raided by Israeli naval forces. Our boats and belongings were stolen while we were zip-tied, brutalized, and blindfolded en route to an internment camp in the Negev desert.
In the camp, we were unjustly detained for 5 days as Israeli authorities systematically violated our rights. We were beaten, abused, and denied access to critical medication from day to day. We were denied food, water, and legal representation. And the U.S. government simply abandoned us to rot in the camp without support for our security or release.
As the flotilla's U.S. delegation, we know that what we have suffered pales to the plight of the Palestinian people. Kidnapped by Israeli forces, 11,000 Palestinians are still held in far worse conditions of indefinite detention. These include the U.S. citizen Mohammed Ibrahim, one of many Palestinians abandoned to suffering and starvation in abusive Israeli prisons.
From here in Amman, Jordan, we want to say how grateful we are for your support, for your calls and your letters, for your marches and mobilizations. All this support has helped to secure our freedom, and we know that we're only here and we're only free because of you.
But the fight is far from done. We've all emerged from this captivity even more committed to the movement for Palestinian liberation. That movement is only growing. We're coming home to keep fighting alongside you until Palestine is free.
And then I want to show, so I mean, the before and after is pretty striking. Like, yeah, it must be hard for you to watch this.
I've lost 30 pounds. So like even now looking at myself in this screen, I'm like, man, I need to figure out how to put weight back on right now. Like, but yeah, you can really see the difference.
Shakes, avocado, ice cream.
Yes.
I mean, the starvation as a weapon that they're imposing on the people of Gaza, and the fact that they've killed people through starvation is just like so beyond sickening. And anyone who's ever defended that, I mean, I just can't believe that Bari Weiss, who runs a basically like Holocaust denial site, or the Free Press, is now at CBS. Someone who pretended that this. I mean, can you just imagine if any of these people were like, well, that kid in the Holocaust concentration camp in Auschwitz already was suffering from some pre-existing condition, so I don't really care that they died.
Yep, that's it. I mean, that's exactly the Zionist line, and I'm so disgusted, and I'm so glad you mentioned her, because like just in general, I'm so disillusioned with all of Western media. It's like it seems like there is no good prominent Western media outlet. So I'm grateful for shows like you, and because it's fun. I got a couple people were mad at me for going on Hasan, which I disagree. I disagree with the reasons. Is over there the literal fake thing about his dog. And I bet his dog is like, and again, I foster dogs. The whole thing was so ridiculous and not true about anyway. But I like to a couple of them after they didn't believe me when I said the dog he wasn't wearing a shock collar. I was like, listen, what do you want? It's not like I got out and like CNN was called. Yeah, it's not like CNN was on the phone like, Tommy, can you talk about how the Israelis tortured you?
Yes.
Like they don't want to platform that. They don't want to platform Dr. Daoud. So I'm so grateful for people like you, Katie, who I did know before the flotilla as well. Just like, as you know,
what are you living in?
I don't know. I don't know how many people are watching, but I know it's like a good bit, and you know, it's reassuring for me to know that this story can be listened to by people who care. And, you know, of course, I have my own audience that I'm excited to share this with as well. But yeah, it's a real testament to how pathetic and complicit the Western media is. I was expecting, after the week in prison, I had this vision in mind for how the flotilla members, specifically the Americans who had basically been disappeared into the Negev desert. I wrongly put faith for the final time into Western media. I thought we would get out and there would be a whole slew of like, what is happening to the flotilla members? Because it was a very clear, different, like even from the outside, you could tell just from speaking to like Alana Hadid, who was my emergency contact, like everyone knew that anyone who wanted to know knew that we were getting a different treatment than the two previous flotillas.
Right.
So the media, they're not dumb. They knew too. There was a New York Times article the day that we were intercepted with 3 authors on the byline that actually very accurately covered how the flotilla, like what the flotilla was and what we had done in the month leading up to it. But then there was no update. No one thought like, okay, we haven't heard any, there's no proof of life in the past 3 or 4 days. Maybe we should check in and do a follow-up story. There was none of that. So, you know, people were relying on the 3 people running my Instagram page to get any news at all. And from people like you. And you know, I'm proud that I'm able to have this outlet that reaches so many people. But I also think it's a testament to how pathetic the Western media is. And I pointed out a lot, like on my page, like when I accidentally make a news headline with like 2 typos in it. You know, I think it's funny because it's read by more people than the very professionally done Washington Post and New York Times headlines, because people have had enough of these moronic and complicit people. So I always point out the fact, like, I actually have no training in journalism. I'm just, and like I frequently like make mistakes on like to the level of dumb typos, but still people trust me more than these fascist compliant genocide complicit outlets, because they know that I'm at least not corrupted and I'm at least sourcing real people and real stories. And that, you know, it's a testament to how far gone the Western media is, even the Washington Post, like really, like outlets that I used to think were trustworthy. And I know firsthand, I've interacted with Western journalists like John Swain for the Washington Post and seen even before 2023, seen the levels of depravity they're willing to go to be compliant to certain storylines that they're instructed on doing, and to be, you know, a genuine harm to the world.
Yeah, and it's clear how Zionism is actually controlling all of that. We're fighting against, like, you know, not only a country, we're also fighting against an entire giant of mainstream media that is being controlled by the Zionism. And at the same time, you know, the government's like, you know, like I was honestly surprised that the consulate of the United States came to see us. I did not expect that. I did not expect that whatsoever. And in especially us, the United States, the other ones, you know, like Europe, to a certain extent, I was like thinking, yes, they'll come. But then even when the consulate was coming, it's nice and everything. But you know, like to be worried and scared of the guards telling you like, hey, you know, we told you 20 minutes, you know, and then he's like 2 minutes, 2 more minutes. I was like really shocked. I mean, what is going on? I'm yelling at him. I'm telling him like, you need to go and tell the White House how they're treating us and all of that. And then I looked at how the guards are telling him like just only 2 minutes. And then I was like, wow, like you're the consul, you're the ambassador, or the image of the United States and the image of the president, and you're being yelled at by prison guards for taking too much time with prisoners from the United States. It was just crazy. I mean, it's yeah.
I viewed that as all theater. Because of how little they greeted us by telling us they can't get us water, and by telling us that they have no jurisdiction over Israeli authorities as members of the United States consular. So it was like, it felt to me like they were slapping us in the face and telling us to go fuck ourselves. And I'll never forget those three people. I wish I knew their names, but I think they were directly following orders from Mike Huckabee, and legitimately they were not there to help us, and they were there to rub it in our faces that we were terrorists and considered terrorists by the government, to the extent that I fully thought that when I got home I was going to be arrested. And to the point where when we landed in Chicago from Jordan, there were 5 U.S. marshals waiting at the end of the plane asking for the flotilla members, and I was fully ready to put my hands behind my back. I thought they were going, it was just something I'd been taught. I was sitting next to a Palestinian man in his 60s who lived in Jordan, and like I was telling him the whole time, like and he agreed. I was just like, he had been following the flotilla a lot, and he had kind of like came up to me, started talking about it, and we talked the whole flight. And you know, I kept saying, like, I think it's a coin flip on, you know, based on what I've been told, based on how the U.S. in the internment camp, the Tel Aviv consulate, and then also the Jordanian embassy, like they were equally telling us to go fuck ourselves, maybe even a more cartoonishly evil way of saying we're not your babysitters. It was a very valid concern that when I landed, I was going to be arrested. And so the marshals were there, and I think they saw how spooked I was. And it was actually, there were 4 of us on that plane to Chicago. And it was actually, there was such a commotion outside the airport of people like waiting to greet us that they had deemed it like we have to get these people through the very long customs line. So they were actually there to just walk us past a really long line. But there was a 3 or 4 minute period where I'm walking down the plane and I hear the marshals asking, telling the flight attendants to pass it down, like, you know, find the flotilla members. I'm like, I'm being taken right to a new jail. At least there'll be like water and I'll be able to talk to a lawyer, but time
and toilet paper.
And toilet paper. Yeah, you know, the basic necessities of our horrific and corrupt private prison system here. Like at the very least, I'll be able to talk to someone. But, you know, and this is coming off of a flight where, you know, the flight attendants were giving us like, oh, let us know if you need, like, we're so proud of you, like giving us food and stuff. And it was such an honor. And then it was like right into reality of like, oh shit, I'm being arrested in the United States. And thankfully this was not what actually happened, but it was, it felt real for a few minutes, and it was very realistic to have it feel real, you know?
I mean, all these America firsters out there, I hope you realize what a cuck Donald Trump is for Netanyahu. I mean, this is so embarrassing. Oh, we can't give you guys water. We can't give the American government can't get American citizens water.
Meanwhile, the Greek government is giving their people cigarettes in addition to water and food. And we're like, so we're coming back to our cell. We're getting back to our cell. Like one person broke off a small piece of a pastry, and it was like the first thing I'd put in my mouth for 3 days that the Greek government had given.
They got baklava and you didn't get water.
Yeah. And so, you know, we were immediately shown the lying irony of these disgusting people who work for a combination of Mike Huckabee and Benjamin Netanyahu, of just like pretending that they cared about us, having us fill out a form that they didn't show to anyone. And, you know, even on the medicine point, the main woman, I wish I knew her name, she was like, oh, we're so appalled by that. Well, make sure you get your medicine. I believed her. So for that evening, I'm telling the guards, like, maybe if you check your notes or something, you have something from the consulate. She didn't tell anyone. She was part of the whole thing. And that's like, that was the crazy, like, that's why, you know, I frequently tell people I learn things every day, even after spending like a long period of time at this point being, advocating for Palestine and against the genocide and you know, raising all this money and becoming friends with so many Palestinians. Like, I'm still learning new stuff every day. And the stuff that I learned that day and in this experience is that the United States is, you know, there's this thing that I think a lot of us Americans, at least white Americans, grew up with from like movies and other forms of entertainment and just things that politicians say, that we have this idea that the U.S. will come to the rescue of its citizens. Like, oh, like an American is trapped in some scary place. Like, they're going to go send the Marines in and pull them out in some elaborate. And it's like, no, look at us. They just completely disregarded our lives, left us to die. They very could have had American deaths on their hands, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. It was the point. And just like with Israel and just like with their genocide of Palestinians, the cruelty is always the point.
Right.
And we live in a very cruel country. I've known that for a long time through my activism around gun violence and refugee help and with Planned Parenthood. I've raised over $1 million for them. Like I'm very aware of how cruel this country is.
A different level, right?
But it was a new level, like watching them have a disregard for a group of a few dozen activists from their country
because
they are very clear.
Yeah, because they stood against Israel. That's the bottom line. That's the whole bottom line. You go, you say something against Israel, this is what's going to happen to you.
Yep.
Really
And that's something very sad that we reached this level, America, that we're like we lost our freedom of speech, we lost our morals. We see kids are being they're dying and dead and starved to death, and then we're even not only staying silent, we're actually contributing to the problem. And whether we like it or not, America is complicit in this genocide. Providing weapons, providing F-16, providing everything you name it, money, and then it's very sad, we're in a very bad era in history that it will be haunted forever because of that. And then if the American people don't realize that and don't wake up to this nightmare, somehow in a magical way, we're screwed. We're screwed. There's a big problem. It's a huge problem. And it's sadly, like, us, like me and Tommy, like when everybody flew back home, I remember they put this nice meal in front of me in the airport. I mean, in the airplane. I started eating it. I started crying. I started sobbing, and then it's just, I'm like, like these people, I went to jail for a couple of days or 3 days. And then I came home with a meal and all of that, an airplane, and the people I left behind me, tens of thousands of prisoners. They have no future and no hope whatsoever. It's just very sad. It's really, I started crying. I couldn't stop crying. Like I said, this is like, the worst thing I've ever witnessed in my life. I'll never forgive myself for even eating.